What happens when a Hollywood icon known for wit, honesty, and sharp boundaries walks onto a live daytime talk show and suddenly feels pushed into a political corner he didn't come to fight in? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. So we're back live, and today's table has been buzzing all morning. You can feel it in the room, that low hum that usually means something's about to happen. Robert Downey Jr. is sitting comfortably at first, smiling, leaning back in his chair, jacket slightly open, relaxed in the way only someone with decades of cameras on him can be. The audience is warm, applause still fading as Alyssa Farah Griffin finishes introducing him, talking about his career, his comeback story, his legacy in Hollywood. Alyssa smiles, nodding toward him. "Robert, it's really great to have you here." "Thanks," he says easily. "It's good to be anywhere before noon where people clap when you walk in." The audience laughs. Whoopi chuckles, Joy grins, Sunny looks down at her notes, Sarah nods politely. It feels light. Safe. Alyssa continues. "You've been very open over the years about personal growth, accountability, and change. And a lot of our viewers admire that." "Appreciate that," Robert replies. "Growth is kind of my brand now. That and bad sunglasses." More laughter. He glances toward Whoopi. "I say that with love." Whoopi waves him off. "You look fine, baby." But Alyssa leans in slightly, tone shifting just a notch. "I want to talk about something you said recently in an interview, where you mentioned feeling uncomfortable with how political Hollywood has become." Robert's smile tightens just a bit. Not gone. Just adjusted. "Yeah," he says slowly. "I said that." Alyssa nods. "Some people took that as you criticizing actors who speak out on social issues. Especially at a time when silence can feel like complicity." The room changes. It's subtle, but it's there. Audience murmurs. Robert sits up straighter. "I don't think silence is complicity," he replies. "I think silence is sometimes someone minding their own business." Joy jumps in. "But Robert, when you have a platform..." He raises a hand, polite but firm. "Let me finish, Joy." There's a ripple in the crowd. That doesn't happen often. He continues. "What I was talking about is the expectation. The pressure. The idea that if you don't say the approved thing at the approved time, you're somehow a bad person." Alyssa tilts her head. "But isn't there also responsibility that comes with influence?" Robert exhales through his nose, not angry yet, but clearly alert now. "There's responsibility to not be a jerk. There's responsibility to be informed. There is not, in my opinion, a responsibility to perform outrage on cue." A small wave of applause breaks out. Alyssa waits for it to die down. "But you've spoken out before," she says. "On addiction, prison reform, second chances. Those are political issues too." "They're human issues," Robert replies quickly. "And I spoke because I lived them." Sunny looks up. "But when you stay quiet on other things, people notice. Especially younger fans." Robert turns toward her. "Sunny, with respect, younger fans don't need me to tell them what to think. They're doing just fine forming opinions without Iron Man." The audience reacts, some laughter, some claps, some uneasy sounds. Alyssa presses again. "I guess what I'm asking is, do you think celebrities who speak out are being performative?" Robert pauses. He chooses his words carefully. "I think some are sincere. I think some are scared. And I think some are chasing applause." The room goes still for a beat. Alyssa's eyebrows lift. "So which one are you?" Robert smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes this time. "I'm the guy who came here to talk about movies and somehow ended up in a moral tribunal." The audience audibly reacts. Whoopi leans forward. Okay, let's slow it down." Alyssa responds quickly. "I'm not putting you on trial, Robert." "It kind of feels like it," he says, still calm but clearly defensive now. Joy interjects. "But Alyssa's point." Robert turns to her. "I know the point. I've heard the point for about 10 years now." That line gets a strong reaction. Applause mixed with gasps. Alyssa keeps her voice steady. "This is a conversation, not an attack." Robert nods. "Then let me talk without being boxed into a headline." There's a pause. Producers are probably sweating. Whoopi gestures with her hand. "Go ahead." Robert takes a breath. "I believe in speaking when you actually have something to say. Not when you're told it's time to speak. I've ruined my life once by pretending. I'm not doing it again." That lands heavy. Even Alyssa looks momentarily taken aback. She softens her tone. "I respect that. But some people watching feel hurt when powerful voices don't show up for causes they care about." He looks directly at her now. And some people feel hurt when celebrities pretend they understand lives they've never lived. The audience reaction is louder now. Mixed but intense. Sunny jumps in. So are you saying celebrities should stay out of it entirely? No, Robert replies. I'm saying they should stay honest. Alyssa folds her hands. Honesty can still be criticized. Absolutely, he says. But criticism shouldn't come with a loyalty test. There's tension now. Real tension. The easy charm is gone, replaced by something sharper, more vulnerable. Alyssa nods slowly. I think where we're differing is, some people don't see this as a loyalty test. They see it as standing up. And I see it as complicated, Robert says. And complexity doesn't play well on daytime TV. The audience reacts with a mix of laughter and oaths. Whoopi steps in again. All right, we're going to take a breath here. Robert leans back, jaw tight. Alyssa sits back too, but her eyes stay locked on him. And in that moment, it's clear, this isn't over. Not even close. Whoopi lifts her hand slightly, trying to reset the energy. Okay, everybody breathe for a second, she says, half joking, half serious. The audience laughs nervously, but the tension doesn't disappear. It just settles. Alyssa straightens her notes, then looks back up at Robert. I don't think anyone here is denying complexity, she says. But this show talks about real-world consequences. When influential people step back, others feel abandoned. Robert turns toward her again, slower this time. And when influential people speak recklessly, others get misled. That part rarely makes the segment. A murmur moves through the audience. Sarah shifts in her seat. But Robert, she says gently, don't you think your silence can be interpreted as comfort with the status quo? He lets out a short laugh, shaking his head. That's the trap right there. Silence equals approval. Speech equals virtue. That's a very convenient binary. Joy leans forward, tapping the table lightly. You're a smart guy. You know people look to public figures. I know people project onto public figures, Robert replies. Big difference. The crowd reacts again. Some applause. Some discomfort. Alyssa keeps her tone controlled, but firmer now. I'm trying to understand where the line is for you. Because you've used your voice when it suited you. Robert's eyebrows lift. When it suited me? That's not what I meant, Alyssa says quickly. I mean, no, let's sit with that, he says. Because that's the implication. That I pick and choose based on comfort. Sunny interjects. Well, don't you? Robert turns to her. Don't we all? That gets a louder reaction. Sunny pauses, then nods slightly. Fair. But some choices carry more weight. Agreed, he says. Which is why I don't treat them casually. Alyssa crosses her legs, leaning back just a bit. But from the outside, it can look like avoidance. Robert's jaw tightens. From the outside, a lot of things look simple. Whoopi raises an eyebrow. Okay, but let me ask you this, she says. If not you, then who? Robert looks at her, clearly respectful. People who actually know what they're talking about. Joy scoffs lightly. Actors can't learn? They can, Robert says. But learning doesn't always need a microphone. The audience reacts, some applause, some groans. Alyssa exhales. I think what's frustrating is that you're framing this like everyone else is being fake. I didn't say everyone, he replies. But I am saying the incentive structure is messed up. She leans forward again. Explain that. He nods, appreciating the opening. There's an expectation now. Say the right thing, get applause. Say nothing, get attacked. Say the wrong thing, get cancelled. That doesn't encourage honesty. It encourages scripts. Sarah jumps in. But isn't that true in any public job? Yes, Robert says. Which is why I don't pretend actors are moral leaders. The audience reacts strongly to that. Alyssa lifts her hand slightly, calming them. But you're still benefiting from the platform. Absolutely, he agrees. And I'm grateful for it. I just don't think gratitude equals obligation to comment on everything. Sunny looks unconvinced. But when issues affect marginalized people, I listen, Robert says. I donate. I support quietly. I don't always announce it. Joy raises an eyebrow. So we're supposed to just take your word for it? He shrugs. You don't have to. That answer hits hard. There's a brief silence. Alyssa breaks it. That sounds dismissive. It's not meant to be, Robert replies. It's honest. I don't need credit for decency. Some applause. Alyssa nods slowly, but presses on. But visibility matters. Especially on shows like this. And so does nuance, he shoots back. Whoopi steps in again. All right. We're going in circles a bit. Robert turns slightly toward Whoopi. Because we're arguing two different things. You're talking about impact. I'm talking about integrity. Alyssa tilts her head. Those aren't mutually exclusive. They are when one demands performance, he says. The audience reacts with a mix of wow and clapping. Alyssa pauses, then says, "Can I be honest?" "Please," Robert replies. She looks directly at him. Sometimes it feels like people with privilege can afford to step back. Others can't. That lands. Robert doesn't respond immediately. He looks down at the table for a moment, then back up. "That's fair," he says quietly. The room softens slightly. But privilege also means being able to mess up safely. And I've messed up publicly before. I don't want to do harm while trying to do good. Sunny nods slightly. So fear plays a role. Absolutely, Robert admits. Anyone who says otherwise is lying. Alyssa latches onto that. But fear can't be the deciding factor. It shouldn't be, he agrees. But it is for a lot of people, including the ones yelling the loudest. The audience reacts again, this time more subdued. Joy leans back. "I just think people want to know where you stand." Robert looks around the table. "I stand for people figuring things out without being bullied into slogans." Alyssa exhales, clearly frustrated now. That sounds nice, but it doesn't always translate to action. And forced action doesn't always translate to progress, he replies. There's a beat. The tension is thick now, not explosive, but simmering. Whoopi looks toward the camera. "We're going to take a quick break." The audience applauds automatically, but the energy is off. Robert adjusts his jacket. Alyssa flips a page on her notes, both clearly still wound up. And as the screen fades, it's obvious. Whatever calm that break is supposed to bring, this conversation is coming back even sharper. The show comes back from break, applause rising on cue, but it's thinner now, more automatic. The smiles are there, but they don't quite settle. Robert takes a sip of water, Alyssa straightens in her chair, and Whoopi looks between them like she knows exactly where this is headed. "All right," Whoopi says, voice steady. "We're back." And before the break, things got spirited. Light laughter from the audience. Alyssa nods. That's one word for it. Robert gives a small smile, then sets the cup down. "I'll own my part in that." Alyssa looks at him, surprised. "Okay, I get passionate about this," he continues, "because I think we're living in a moment where people confuse volume with virtue." Sunny leans in immediately. "But sometimes volume is the only way people get heard." He turns toward her. "And sometimes it drowns out the people actually affected." The audience reacts, some applause, some sharp inhales. Alyssa jumps back in. "But Robert, when you say things like that, it can sound like you're dismissing activism altogether." "I'm not," he says quickly. "I'm criticizing the performance of it." Joy raises her hand slightly. "But who decides what's performance and what's real?" "Time," Robert answers. "And consistency." Alyssa presses. "But in real time, people are hurting. They don't have the luxury of waiting." He nods. "I know, and I'm not telling anyone else to wait. I'm explaining why I move the way I do." Sarah tries to soften it. "Do you think part of this is that audiences expect access now? To your opinions, your values?" Robert chuckles without humor. "Audiences have always expected something. It just used to be entertainment." That line gets a louder reaction than expected. Alyssa raises her eyebrows. That feels a little dismissive of the audience. He shakes his head. "No, it's protective. Of them and me." Sunny looks unconvinced. "Protective how?" "Because when celebrities become moral authorities," he says, "people outsource their thinking. And that scares me." A brief pause. The audience quiets. Alyssa responds carefully. "I don't think people are outsourcing. I think they're looking for solidarity. And solidarity doesn't require a press tour," Robert replies. Joy jumps in. "But visibility changes policy." "Sometimes," he agrees. "And sometimes it just changes who gets invited back." That draws a sharp reaction. Alyssa sits up straighter. "Are you saying people speak out to protect their careers?" "I'm saying incentives exist," Robert replies. "And pretending they don't is naive." The tension spikes again. Whoopi lets it breathe for a second. Alyssa's voice tightens. "It feels like you're painting this as cynical when, for many people, it's deeply personal." Robert meets her gaze. "And it feels like you're asking me to prove my humanity on your terms." The audience gasps softly. Alyssa blinks, taken aback. "That's not fair," she says. "Neither is the assumption that quiet equals indifference," he responds. Sunny interjects. "But you're not just quiet. You've criticized others." "Yes," Robert says. "When I think the criticism is deserved." Joy laughs incredulously. So you're the referee now? He smiles thinly. No, I'm a participant, just like everyone else. Alyssa shakes her head slightly. But you're a participant with enormous influence. And enormous blind spots, he replies immediately. Which is why I'm careful. There's a beat. The audience seems split now, reacting in pockets. Alyssa exhales. Let me ask you this directly. Do you think people like me are wrong to push you on this? Robert considers it. I think you're doing your job. She nods. Okay, and I think I'm doing mine, he adds. By not pretending I have answers I don't. Sunny crosses her arms. But refusing to answer is still an answer. He looks at her. So is refusing to listen. That line hits hard. The audience reacts loudly, some clapping, some audible woe. Whoopi steps in quickly. All right, hold on. Let's not talk past each other. Robert leans back slightly, but his voice stays firm. I'm listening. I just don't agree with the premise that visibility equals virtue. Alyssa responds, frustration now clear. And I don't agree that staying out of it keeps your hands clean. They lock eyes. The silence stretches just long enough to feel uncomfortable. Robert breaks it. I never said my hands were clean. That lands differently. The audience quiets again. He continues, softer now. I've made mistakes. Big ones. I've hurt people. I've learned the hard way that good intentions don't guarantee good outcomes. Alyssa's expression shifts, slightly less combative. So what would you say to viewers who feel let down by your stance? Robert looks toward the camera for the first time in a while. I'd say I'm sorry if you feel let down. Truly. But I'm not going to lie to you to make you feel better. Sunny nods slowly. At least that's honest. Joy sighs. I still think you underestimate how much it matters to see people stand up. And I think you underestimate how much harm comes from standing up poorly, Robert replies. Alyssa rubs her hands together, clearly frustrated, but trying to stay composed. We're not going to resolve this here. No, Robert agrees. And that's okay. Whoopi looks relieved. That's probably true. But Alyssa adds one more thing, unable to let it go. I just hope you understand why this hits a nerve. Robert meets her eyes again, quieter now. I do. I just hope you understand why being told how to be good hits one of mine. The audience reaction is strong but mixed, applause layered with uneasy murmurs. Whoopi glances at the clock. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap this up. Robert nods, Alyssa sits back, both clearly still processing. And as the cameras prepare for the final stretch, it's clear this conversation has crossed from debate into something more personal. And whatever comes next won't just stay in this studio. The final segment opens with applause again, louder than the last return, almost like the audience is trying to shake off the heaviness. Whoopi smiles into the camera, but there's a seriousness behind it. All right, she says. We're back, and before we wrap up, I want to say this has been a real conversation. And those don't always fit neatly into a bow. Alyssa nods, taking a breath. That's true. Robert sits forward slightly, hands clasped now, no jokes left in his posture. The ease from the start of the show is gone, replaced by something more exposed. Alyssa turns to him. I don't want people to think this was about attacking you, she says. For me, it's about accountability. He nods slowly. And I don't want people to think I don't care, he replies. Because I do. I just don't believe care always has to be public. Sunny looks between them. I think what people are reacting to is that this feels bigger than just you. Robert agrees. It is bigger. That's why I'm cautious. Joy sighs softly. I still wish you'd be louder. He gives a small, tired smile. And I still wish loudness meant wisdom. The audience reacts, some laughter, some applause, some heads shaking. It's clear there's no single side winning the room. Whoopi leans in. Sometimes the most honest ending is admitting we don't agree. Alyssa looks at Robert again. I can live with disagreement. I just don't want disengagement. He meets her gaze. And I don't want coercion dressed up as morality. There's a pause. This time, Alyssa nods. Fair. That one word eases the tension just enough for the audience to clap. Whoopi smiles. Well, look at that. Progress. Robert chuckles quietly, shaking his head. Daytime miracles. The audience laughs, releasing some of the pressure that's been building all hour. Whoopi turns toward the camera. Robert Downey Jr., thank you for coming on and actually having the conversation. Thank you for letting it be one, he replies. Alyssa adds, even when it's uncomfortable. He nods. Especially then. The applause is genuine now, even if still divided. As the cameras pull back, Alyssa and Robert exchange a brief handshake. It's polite but reserved. No hug. No lingering smiles. When the show cuts to credits, the energy in the studio doesn't immediately reset. Audience members are talking among themselves, some clapping harder, others sitting quietly. A few stand as Robert exits, others remain seated, arms crossed, processing. Backstage, the conversation doesn't magically smooth out. Sources later say Robert was calm but firm with producers, reiterating that he didn't regret what he said, only that it was necessary to say it on live television. Alyssa, meanwhile, stood by her questions, telling staff she believed the pushback mattered, even if it made people uncomfortable. Within minutes of the episode airing, social media lights up. Clips start circulating, short, sharp moments. Silence is sometimes minding your own business. I'm not going to lie to you to make you feel better. Being told how to be good hits a nerve. Supporters flood the comments praising Robert for honesty, calling it one of the realest conversations the show has had in years. Others accuse him of dodging responsibility, saying his privilege showed. Alyssa trends too, with some applauding her for holding her ground, others saying she pushed too hard. Hashtags split down the middle. Think pieces start popping up before the hour is over. Some call it a necessary clash. Others call it a misfire. Almost everyone agrees on one thing: it didn't feel fake. By the next morning, entertainment headlines describe it as tense, unfiltered, and unexpected. Clips rack up millions of views. The network quietly celebrates the ratings bump, even as publicists scramble. Robert doesn't tweet. He doesn't clarify. He goes quiet again. Alyssa, on the other hand, addresses it briefly the next day, saying she stands by asking difficult questions and welcomes disagreement. And viewers? They keep arguing. In comment sections, group chats, reaction videos. Some say the moment changed how they see celebrities. Others say it changed how they see talk shows. What's clear is that the conversation didn't end when the cameras shut off. It spilled outward, exactly the way live television sometimes does when people stop playing roles and start speaking honestly. And now it's your turn. Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.